Hello and welcome to the Total Soccer Show. My name is Daryl Grove. I'm back in Richmond, back in studio, and I'm joined by a man who gave me a sort of double high five as he came back in. His name is Taylor Rockwell. Hello.
Hello. You demanded a double high five. I had things in my hands, man. I adjusted to give you a single high five. You should be thankful.
I got 2 single high fives.
Yeah.
I think I'll take it. I'm not going to take it as an insult.
That's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine. I mean, this is also the same Daryl Grove who, before we started recording, said that he didn't think Weston McKennie was good and he should be replaced by Michael Bradley.
How dare you? How dare you make up slanderous lies about me? We will be talking Weston McKennie later in today's show.
We will, but first, I know it's been like... my dad always said when I had cash, it burned a hole in my pocket. Has Wolverhampton's result this weekend burned a hole in your pocket? Have you just been waiting all weekend to discuss?
It's burned a smile in my face
there
like the Joker.
Is that how he got the scars?
I think so, yeah. He was watching Wolves tie with Man City.
Just smiled so big.
Yeah. So we're going to do thumbs up, thumbs down, weekend review. We got some Premier League, some Bundesliga with Americans back in action in the Bundesliga, and a little Major League Soccer as well. There was a certain record was set this weekend. But let's start with the game that happened very early Saturday morning. Wolves 1, Manchester City 1. And I'm going to say thumbs up for no VAR in the Premier League.
I was going to say thumbs down to Wolverhampton for cheating their way to a point. Not really. But I take your point.
Things can be 2 things.
Yep.
So, Wolves tied Man City 1-1. I maybe want to talk about the tactical stuff, but first I want to talk about Willy Boly's goal.
Sure.
So, Willy Boly is the Wolves centre-back who was up. He was on the end of a cross. He was trying to sort of diving header at the far post. He missed it with his head, hit his arm, went in. He did the vertical Diego Maradona.
I was going to say, Maradona loved that diving header.
Right?
Yeah.
Because Maradona's was like straight up and deliberate, right, to beat Peter Shilton in 1986. Boly's was definitely going for it with his head, missed it because I think maybe he got distracted by Doherty.
That's possible.
Hit him in the arm, went in. If that was VAR in the Premier League, that goal would definitely have been disallowed.
Yep.
So thumbs up for no VAR.
Yeah, I mean, there's that. I think you could make the argument City maybe should have had a penalty for the contact with David Silva.
Yep.
No penalty given. That might have been overturned on VAR or might have been given as a penalty on VAR. So, I think Wolves are very happy.
Aguero also hit the bar or the post, I think, twice.
Yep.
One Patricio saved onto it. Yeah, this easily could have been a win for Manchester City.
But it wasn't.
Instead, it's Wolves 1, Man City 1.
Yep.
Here's my question to you. Given all the things we just talked about, add in the fact that maybe Willy Boly was offside. If Doherty got the flick on, then Boly was probably offside.
I'm not as convinced about that one, by the way.
He may have missed it, right?
I think so.
Okay, but it's more question marks to pile on top of that goal.
Yeah, because then if you want to go down that nuanced road, then it's like, maybe he missed it, but was he interfering in play? Did he cause a distraction? And I'm very happy that we don't have to talk about that.
Was this a great performance by Wolves to get a point against Manchester City, who had been steamrolling people, right?
That feels... I know there's going to be a but.
No, because people are talking it up in that way, right?
Oh, I'm just laughing of like, this feels like when Stephen
Colbert question.
Yeah, like, greatest president or the greatest of presidents?
Great performance or the greatest performance?
Yeah, you go.
Or was this Wolves just getting lucky?
It was definitely a good, if not great, performance from Wolves. And that has been the talking point, as you said. Like, is this how you beat Man City? Did they set the blueprint? I don't know if they did, but I think...
blueprint?
There you go. But I think... it should be old gold for purposes of this one, right? The old gold blueprint.
Be very expensive.
I think that they settled upon or deliberately planned out a kind of hybrid approach that was both defensive and intermittently aggressive, and I think it caused problems.
I think you nailed it, because I was watching, I can't remember who was commentating, but they kept praising Wolves for going after Man City and being attacking, and I was sitting there thinking, this is the most defensive I've seen Wolves play all year. They're not pressing in the way they pressed Everton or Leicester. Like, it's not that aggressive.
Yeah.
But it was, like you said, intermittently aggressive.
Yep. So
you and I talked before. You mentioned that maybe Wolves just... this sounds like a pun, but Wolves pounced on any Man City mistakes. It's almost like they pressed when the opportunity was there.
I mean, you've made it pounced, which is like a playful feline activity. I'm going to say like they hunted and tracked down, and which is kind of true because I think that was sort of what they did. That it wasn't necessarily sitting back, but it was keeping shape, and it was keeping that 5-4-1 shape.
The shape was 5-4-1, which is a very defensive shape. Right?
Absolutely, but there's something to be said for when it's not just everybody back. You've got 5 1 yard inside the 18 and 4 1 yard outside the 18.
Yeah.
When you are still still
it's more
keeping
like
your
from
shape.
halfway, right?
Yeah.
The one, Raul Jimenez was at halfway, and then it was kind of compact behind that. Yeah.
And so that necessitates that City keep possession, but still have they have lots of numbers in lots of different spaces. So it's not just compact. They can get numbers forward. They can move the ball around and probe for vulnerabilities. You have, just because there's a little bit more pressure up top or near midfield or close to midfield, it makes you think about it that much faster. But I think one thing that we've talked about a little bit on this show is City have been a little bit profligate at times, and they've been a little bit clumsy at times. Obviously, Benjamin Mendy with the foul throw is a good example, but there were just lots of wayward passes, and that's where I say that Wolves were intermittently aggressive, is that it felt like they were content to keep their shape, but as soon as they saw a loose pass, as soon as they saw a miscontrolled ball, they were on it aggressively, trying to put that pressure in there. So it wasn't,
and then they would go, right? Like
exactly.
Raul Jimenez would be receive the ball, play it, and we'd start some sort of counter attack.
Yeah. So I think it was an interesting approach that worked and is something that I think other teams could replicate. Obviously, you have to have a little bit of good fortune on your side in a variety of different ways. But it's worth noting, Wolves could have gotten another couple goals. And I would say, this is harsh given all we've said so far, but I would say thumbs down to Diego Jota because...
So the Wolves winger/striker, right? He's part of either the front three or the midfield four, depending on how aggressive we're feeling.
Yes. And I gave him thumbs down mostly to keep Daryl grounded, because I don't want him getting too excited about this result.
Fair.
But he had... he miscontrols the ball.
We didn't say full disclosure, I'm a Wolves fan. I think most long-time listeners will know if this is your first ever show, you're like, why are they opening with Wolves? This is a weird podcast.
Why are you starting now? Why are you getting it here? And you should know these things. But yes, it's one of these situations where City were sloppy on the ball. It leads to a transition.
For City, I think it's all relative, right? There's still a lot of very tight Man City moving the ball around, but then the occasional mistake. Sloppy for a Guardiola team.
I mean, for Man City in relation to our adult league team, but they still had some of those passes where it was a 5-yard pass that was played in between two players or was played out of bounds. Yeah. Or you're right that it was then for Man City that there was a couple that Fernandinho tried to split two defenders with a yard of space and it didn't quite get through.
Yeah.
But yes, there were still moments of that was a questionable decision. Vincent Kompany had one where he brought it out and lost the ball.
Shape,
And then in those sequences, Wolves did have opportunities, but the first one, the Jimenez goal that was ruled correctly, I would say, except that's a talking point too. Offside.
Jota, I think it might have deflected off of Kompany on the way through, which makes it not offside.
If Kompany's making a play on the ball, then he's a defensive actor. But in that sequence, Jota's first touch takes him inside, and so then he has to try to dribble outside to get away from City players, as opposed to dribbling straight in on goal and then making them kind of make the decision themselves. So I didn't think that was great. And then for Ruben Neves' miss in the second half that goes just wide, it starts with
low,
Jota.
Right? The low shot.
Jota should have gotten a shot off himself, but his first touch, because he basically finds the ball out wide, gets the ball out wide-ish, and his first touch is into his own leg. I think if he takes that first touch in on goal, he's got a clear shooting opportunity.
All right, I'm just going to write my notes for future. Taylor says Diogo Jota is ish.
Yes, that is correct.
One final tactical thing on this. I noticed that because of the way Wolves set up, one thing we didn't mention is they also did the thing where Wolves were compact, but they covered I guess you call it the weak side, right? They protected against the switch by having, they were narrow and compact, but then one of the fullbacks will go and cover the other side, so City couldn't switch the play quickly, right? That frustrated City. City, in the end, had luck or had success just dribbling at Wolves, basically. The free kick they win that they score the equaliser from is from, I believe it's either Silva or Aguero, just starts dribbling at the heart of Wolves. And he gets past a couple, eventually gets fouled. That's the free kick that they score from.
It was either that one, or there was one with Leroy Sané where he gets past 4 players in a row.
That was an impressive move from Sané, right? A little shimmy of the hips and he's away from 2. So I think in the end, Man City, it's weird to say they were reduced to dribbling straight at you. Because they're very good at it, but that was their fallback plan, I think.
But it's definitely not what Guardiola wants them to be doing. He doesn't want them to be trying to beat everybody 1-on-7 to get a shooting opportunity.
That's fair. All right, so I don't want to linger too long on Wolverhampton Wanderers, except to say I feel good about the season as a fan, but they only have 2 points from 3 games. If you continue on that trajectory, that's relegation form.
Yeah. So, I mean, that said, they're not getting relegated. They're fine.
We'll see. West Ham and Burnley up next. As you said, I think that's the those are the key games to find out. All right, where else would you like to go in the Premier League, Taylor? I started us with Wolves. Take us wherever you want.
The obvious place, I want to go to Huddersfield Cardiff. That one finished 0-0, and I want to say boo. Then I want to move us on to, I want to say, let's go to Bournemouth Everton, shall we? Does that work for you?
I only saw highlights of this, but yes, I'm in.
Do you remember how it finished?
It finished 2-2.
There we go.
Yeah.
Everton go up 2-0, despite being a man down. Bournemouth have a man sent off. Then they get 2 goals themselves.
Yep.
And I want to start that with the man being sent off for Everton. I want to say thumbs down to Richarlison.
Yes, this is the reaction, the leaning in, heads against each other. You never flinch, right?
Nope.
If you flinch, then you look like the aggressor, even if you haven't really done anything.
And he was doing the flinch to like maybe just do a little bit of contact, hoping that Adam Smith, I believe it was, would then respond. You don't do that, because it's also...
Because Adam Smith has studied the market. He knows how this works.
Exactly. Of course. He knows the invisible hand. I think that was him, right? But
the invisible head flinch.
Yes, perfect. But this comes about after there had been a little bit of a run in between the two. The referee is watching them. He's like just eyes on them, waiting for something to happen, and it does. Richarlison's got to be a little bit smarter there. I would say, though, like that's kind of where this game is for me, because that leads to there's thumbs up to karma, because then Smith himself gets red carded. Yes. Talk about that in a sec. But I want to say thumbs down to Everton's nastiness is how I'm going to put this.
All right.
So 2 red cards in 3 games. Yeah. Not an ideal start for them. It's worth noting, I think this is violent conduct for Richarlison, so that's a 3-game automatic suspension. Yep.
Does that seem unfair? Because it's not really violent conduct. It's not like he punched a guy in the face, right?
Slippery slope, Joe. It's a slippery slope of headbutts. No, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if it's unfair, but
so you're law and order enforcement in the Premier League.
Exactly. Well, it's just more so, I think it's probably not fair, but it is because he should have known what was happening and he should have thought better. But Everton now have the most red cards in Premier League history, not in league history, but just in the Premier League. But the thing was, it could have been worse for them.
It's like total ever.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, and that's not all Marco Silva, but it's been a thing that I've noticed in their first couple games this season of not just the red cards, but they're more physical, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's not necessarily a good thing if you're not being clever. Yeah. And there was a moment, the one that really stood out to me was Mason Holgate has a defensive play. Callum Wilson's, he's dribbled through, he's in on goal, he gets a shot off, he shoots wide. And I was really confused, like, why wasn't this a better shot? I think he shoots wide. Maybe it's just saved. But it's not a very good shot. And I was really confused. And if you go back and watch, you can't really see it on the first replay. On the second one from the touchline angle, as he is like coming through to make contact with the ball on the shot, Wilson, Mason Holgate just shoves him like in his shoulder and definitely puts him off. And it looks like, he's just making a defensive play. But if
so he got away with it.
He gets away with it, no call given. But
Mason Holgate.
Callum Wilson loses his mind. That's when I was like, that's weird that he's that angry. And really, if you did have VAR, if you had a better angle on it, that might have been a penalty, and that might have been a red card for that little bit of a shove, because he's not trying to play the ball. He's definitely just trying to put the man off. So just those moments of like, while I want to believe that Everton have found the right manager or putting results together, there's just moments like this that make me think there are some worrying signs there that they need to maybe calm down on.
I think I like a more aggressive Everton, though, because their games have been more exciting this year than in previous years. Right?
This one is a good example of
and
that.
I love any game where Theo Walcott is bursting through at pace and finishing into the corner.
Let's talk about that,
Yeah, I love that goal. Yeah, it reminded me of the player I thought Theo Walcott was going to be. And maybe still is. He's only 29. He's still got some time.
I have a weird theory that Theo Walcott and Roman Bürki, I heard the announcers for Dortmund, we'll get to them later on, Dortmund talking about Roman Bürki and how when he has time to think, he's not a very good goalkeeper, basically.
Yeah.
But when he's just reacting, he's amazing. I feel like the same goes for Theo Walcott, that if he has the sitter in front of goal and a second and a half to think about it, he puts that ball over. But when he's just in the moment, going at pace, doesn't really have time, he has to play on instinct, that's when he suddenly buries a shot from a tight angle. That's where he draws a red card. And that sequence was amazing to me.
Because he scores breaking through and he draws that red card from Smith breaking through.
Which he then said was harsh on Smith. I don't think it was.
Walcott's also a generous, lovely guy as well.
He was. And the Match of the Day announcers said, like, it was too harsh, that there's still a lot to be done for Walcott to get that one. But it's last defender. He pulls him down. It's going to be a red card.
Do you think he said market forces can't account for pace?
I'm sure he said that. Instead, what he did say was open mouth, bewildered stare is what he said instead of actual words. But to the conversation about Everton being aggressive, that's kind of what leads to this goal, because it's Jordan Pickford. He makes a save, he catches the ball, and then he releases Theo Walcott.
Isn't there a Bournemouth
Callum Wilson
trying to like block him and get in his face, and Pickford almost just like it's like he's late for his train and he's moving past people to get there.
He does the uses the left arm to kind of shield off, remind Callum Wilson I have an elbow to throw with the right arm, and it's inch perfect distribution that leads to the counter. Yeah, I mean, so I thought that was really well done from Jordan Pickford, a goalkeeper who we sometimes aren't entirely sure what to expect from.
Speak for yourself. Where else do you want to go?
I don't know. I went Bournemouth, Everton. I went Huddersfield, Cardiff, obviously.
Let's get American.
Okay.
Let's get American and say thumbs up reassuringly for DeAndre.
I was wondering which one it was going to be.
Okay, so Newcastle hosted Chelsea. Newcastle lost 2-1 at home to Chelsea, with a DeAndre Yedlin own goal quite late in the game. And this looks bad. When you see it, it looks bad. It's like it's an Alonso shot, right? That sort of Yedlin is wrong-footed and ends up just passing past his own keeper. I'm going to say two things. One, it took 2 deflections on the way through, so Yedlin, there's a reason he was, not quite balanced, because he's trying to react quickly to things that are bouncing around like a pinball. Also, if he'd left this ball, Ross Barkley was at the far post. Ross Barkley was scoring if Yedlin didn't get a foot to it. So it looks bad, but it's not some terrible comedy own goal.
I was going to jump into, paraphrase Kanye, but now that you're done, I've let you finish. I'm disagreeing.
Okay, go for it.
This was not good from DeAndre Yedlin, in my opinion.
All right.
Not just this sequence, because, yes, it's an own goal. That's always an embarrassing thing. I'm with you that maybe it's not his fault, except that he concedes the free kick that leads to the opportunity that leads to the own goal.
Okay.
And I think he concedes the free kick because he has been somewhat shredded by Eden Hazard in this game, and I think is so mindful of that. Certainly it is. You're not wrong. And I think it's a tough assignment when there are the issues we've talked about in weeks past where he's trying to stay central to help the center backs, but then because they're in a back 5 or back 3, he is also responsible for patrolling the wings.
Yeah.
So
he has an interesting new wing-back role for Newcastle in this game, right?
Which led to moments where he was marking 3 players at once.
Yeah.
But it felt like Eden Hazard was fully aware of DeAndre Yedlin already maybe not being the best defender and then being a little bit distracted by all of his other responsibilities.
Yeah.
So it felt like Hazard got the better of that one and led to Yedlin maybe making some plays he shouldn't have made or attempts to make the plays that he shouldn't have made.
I'm not going to... I mean, this is our constant critique and concern about DeAndre Yedlin, right?
Yeah.
He's capable of great things. He's also capable of just some weird body shape positioning type things that do not ever work out.
And we didn't plan that, but that is a perfect segue into the other thing I wanted to say, so much so that it made me punch my mic, is that all of that is exemplified by DeAndre Yedlin's assist. He gets the assist in this game.
I forgot it. It's to Joselu. Yeah.
He does. Joselu.
Excuse me.
Yeah, there we go. Get it together. But it comes about because there's that long diagonal. There's a collision with Olivier Giroud. Giroud feels that there was a deliberate elbow thrown into his face.
I mean, he definitely elbowed him in the face, right?
Yes. It's more so, I think the cynical part is that Giroud stays down motionless after that one until Newcastle score, and then he looks up to see them score, and then he gets mad. So there's a little bit like, were you actually hurt? But
I was selling it.
And so it's a good ball in. It's a great header from Joselu. But it's also frustrating because in that moment, I think the elbow comes from, it's not intentional, but Yedlin loses track of the ball. He sees Olivier Giroud coming into his area. I think he's distracted by that or focused on the player and if there's going to be contact. And so when he throws that elbow, he's not even looking at Giroud. He doesn't really even track him. He's more so sort of trying to adjust his body so he doesn't get hit, and he doesn't see where the ball is, so then suddenly the ball is there. He's changing his body. He has the elbow up.
Taylor's acting this out, by the way, for those who can't see.
I am. And
we should have streamed this show.
Maybe we will one day. But until then, it's just to say that while Yedlin has the elbow up, and I'm not critical of that at all, it's worth noting he did, but I'm more critical of the fact that he has to do all the things he does.
So he got himself in the position where he had to use his elbow to try and win the ball.
Because he lost track of the ball.
Yeah.
Once again, he took his eye off. He wasn't fully aware of where he was in relation to the ball. And that's something we've seen from him consistently.
I think Yedlin's just never going to be the fully rounded player that we want him to be.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think so. And I still am caught in two minds with that because there's the part of me that thinks, like, yeah, that's true. He's not going to develop. Like, you kind of got to make your peace with him. But then there are those signs where he has matured, and it leads me to being confused in sequences like the situation that leads to the Marcos Alonso getting a penalty for Chelsea, where he's in the box. Say what you. I don't think it should have been a penalty, but I'm open to debate.
Oh, this is the slide tackle where he kind of gets the ball.
Yes, but this isn't Yedlin. But it's Yedlin once again squaring up with Eden Hazard, and this is the thing that I don't know if it's his fault because he's kind of left to defend two players at once because we think it's Matt Ritchie, doesn't track Marcos Alonso. Instead, he follows Eden Hazard as well.
Yeah.
But Yedlin is in the right shape. He's showing Eden Hazard towards the touchline. He's basically forcing him out wide, forcing a cross, or at least slowing the play down. And then for whatever reason, he opens back up, and now he gives Eden Hazard control of the middle, and in so doing, leaves a 10-yard gap for that ball to go to Marcos Alonso.
I think he's just a bit scared of Eden Hazard.
Yeah. And maybe that's it. I mean, I would be too. So it's not me. It's just I don't know what to make of those. Maybe it's the case that if it were another right back, I wouldn't be as critical. But maybe it's the case that if it were another right back, I would be more critical. I just don't know with DeAndre
It's
Yedlin.
the classic thing, right? When we talk about Weston McKennie later, when we talk about Christian Pulisic later, we talk about John Brooks later. Because they're American, we pay a lot more attention, and we probably see mistakes and flaws that other people either don't see or just don't care about because we're so invested in the success of American players, right?
Yeah.
We want every player to be perfect.
Yep.
I mean, because on some level, we could also just say, it's great that there's an American right back playing in the Premier League for Newcastle. But then when you watch him, you focus on him, and you can't help but see the mistakes. So we're in a weird bind where we can't escape it.
Yeah, I suppose so. My only other thing with this, just thumbs up to Chelsea for reminding me that Chelsea are very good once again. This was the first time we've seen them start Kovacic, I believe, starting in there. Looked good. Looked like a more well-rounded Chelsea team.
This
which
is the midfield he wants,
say.
right? He wants Jorginho, Kante, and Kovacic.
And I think for Chelsea and a couple other teams this weekend, it was like that kind of come-down game where you start the season really well, you're scoring all these goals, and it goes back to the cliche of like the champions, the eventual top four teams. They find a way to get results. Chelsea did it. Liverpool did it. I think that's what you got to do.
All right. Lots more Premier League and US men's national team players overseas to talk about. Today's show is sponsored by SeatGeek. Welcome back, SeatGeek. They've been gone for a whole week.
I was going to say.
I love our sponsorship.
SeatGeek have been here more consistently than you have the last 2 weeks.
How dare you? That is accurate. Thank you for keeping things running.
Of course.
While I was by the lake.
Of course.
But thank you to SeatGeek for sponsoring today's show. SeatGeek is an app and website, but really you should be using the app. Download the app to buy tickets to live
Don't tell me how to live
events.
my life.
I'm telling you how to live your life.
I'll buy tickets to live events and sports and concerts and whatever else I want, wherever I want.
As long as you use SeatGeek, you'll be getting a great price and a good guide to how it all works. 2 taps on your phone, you can buy a ticket to a sporting event, concert, comedy, any other type of live event, even a ventriloquist, if that's the type of thing you like to see.
Boo.
Yeah, agree. What would you like to tell?
I love it when puppets are like overtly racist, but it's somehow okay because it's puppets.
I have a huge problem with that.
Yeah.
I don't have a huge problem with
I drive past that billboard like every day now because he's coming to Richmond, and it drives me nuts.
I don't know exactly who we're talking about, but I don't want to name them anyway.
It's the racist puppeteer, and I'll leave it at that.
Well, so we're not going to see that person, but we are going to see some soccer.
Yeah.
We are going to use SeatGeek to go and see the big new stadium in DC, at DC, right?
Yep.
In DC for DC United.
There we go.
I got there eventually.
You did.
It's called Audi Field.
Audi's involved somehow. Yes. Yes, we are. Yeah, we're going to see them midweek against the Union, the not surging, not resurgent, but consistent Philadelphia Union.
The consistent Philadelphia Union, who are above the dotted line.
Yep.
DC so they lost to New York Red Bulls this weekend. Obviously not good, but they're in something of a playoff push, right? I believe in 8th place, maybe.
Our friend and yours, Matt Doyle, described it as like basically in his like weekend review. Even though DC lost, he still thinks they make the playoffs at the expense of Toronto and Montreal.
Interesting. I know Matt Doyle early in the season was very much like Toronto will turn it around. Toronto will turn it around. That doesn't look like happening, right?
We'll see.
So this will be our first time at Audi Field.
Yep.
I'm excited. I'm also skeptical that it actually exists.
Really?
I won't believe it until I physically...
You think it's just RFK that's like a fresh coat of paint?
Yeah, I've been here 13 years. I've been here for the whole DC United Stadium thing till I'm sitting in my seat, purchased via SeatGeek. Yep. I will not believe that Audi Field is real.
Okay. Well, I guess we'll have an update on Wednesday.
Yeah. Oh, I do. We haven't talked about this off air. I want to sit in the big steep stand.
I think everyone does.
All right.
Yeah.
I think I saw tickets that were pretty affordable on SeatGeek in the big steep stand.
But how could they be more affordable, Daryl?
They could be $20 more affordable. When you download the SeatGeek app, enter the promo code TSS, and then you get $20 off your first SeatGeek purchase.
So thank you to SeatGeek for sponsoring today's episode of the Total Soccer Show. SeatGeek, life's an event. We have the tickets.
even to Audi Field, which definitely exists.
Especially to Audi Field.
Especially to Audi Field. Should we go back to the Premier League?
Sure.
I want to say thumbs up to Arsenal for the big comeback. Arsenal went 1-0 down to West Ham. They roared back. They fired back, because they're the Gunners, to win 3-1. And I know there's a lot to praise in this game for Arsenal. This really looked like Emery's whole thing kind of working with the absence of Mesut Ozil. We'll talk about that in a second. I want to give a thumbs up to Arsenal's right-hand side combination, Mkhitaryan and Bellerin. Lots of interplay that would end with Bellerin getting to the end line, getting crosses in. I thought that stuff was really dangerous. I think we have a combo for Arsenal down that flank.
I think you're absolutely right. I think I'm still confused by Hector Bellerin, because we had this conversation like 2 years ago.
How does he get his hair to do that?
That too. Being a vegan, I think, is the answer. How do you pronounce his name? Because we were all in on Bellerin. We had a bunch of people say it's definitely Bellerin. This season, it's a we haven't talked about this. It's a trend that I've noticed. It seems like more and more commentators, I'm hearing Bellerin. And I'm wondering if they got a note or if they talked to him.
Is he... so definitely in Spanish, 2 L's is the sound, right? But is there a thing where like Bellerin is Catalan, so maybe things are a little different? There's definitely some confusing element to it.
It is,
right?
But I look forward to all the tweets saying it's definitely Bellerin without articulating why.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you in advance for all those tweets. But I don't want to be doing Bellerin and then being one of those people who calls Jose Mourinho.
Why? That's his name. It's Mourinho. You didn't know that? Yeah.
Mourinho.
Yeah.
Anyway, right side combo, Bellerin, Mkhitaryan. There's a rumour that maybe Ozil was supposed to be on one of the wings. That is the rumour, right?
How'd that work out?
It worked out with him getting a fake illness, and then not attending or not being in the match day squad. Something's up, right?
There's shade, and then there's like overt shade, and then there's British commentator shade, and it's my favorite. like when the commentator was doing,
it's like the grandma in Downton Abbey.
Yeah,
Maggie Smith shade.
There we go. It's like he was doing the lineups, and it was you know how they kind of do that. Like, they don't breathe. They just talk for like 40 seconds where it's like, and he'll be back in the lineup and he'll be expected to do this. And whether he'll be able to do this, we shall see. But in the meantime, this center back was like, I don't know how they get all that in there, but they do.
Yeah.
Included in there was Mesut Ozil not in the match day squad for illness reasons, allegedly, reportedly, or something like that. Like, it was very like, sure.
I've heard he's come down with an unfortunate
Or so we've
illness.
been told, I think, is what he...
So we've been told.
Yeah.
That sounds on brand. That sounds on brand. So it does seem like there's some disagreement.
Yeah.
It also looked to me... I'm sorry, I can't credit the person because I can't remember who it was. Someone mentioned that essentially Aaron Ramsey in the attacking midfield role really works at the Unai Emery pressing high-energy type system a lot more than Mesut Ozil. And I think that was true in this game as well. So thumbs up to Aaron Ramsey, because I believe for the second goal, I think he wins a header at the top of the box, outmuscles people, just outreacts people.
Yeah.
For the third goal, it's Ramsey that I believe tackles Jack Wilshere. So it's Ramsey's defensive now is part of helping Arsenal get this 3-1 win.
Yeah, and that's maybe not something you're going to get with Ozil.
Yeah.
So I've
seen him do it, but just not in the first couple of games this season.
Absolutely. Yeah. Speaking of things we've seen Arsenal do, well, actually, I'll get to that in a minute. I want to talk more about those fullbacks, because I think you're right that this is a good reminder of what Unai Emery is going to bring, but I still think I want there to be some sort of stat that tracks like new manager, like percentage level that they're at, because like last week,
so they're at full strength.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. Like I made the argument last week that like Arsenal's backline, it felt like had gotten the memo about how to play, and the front three didn't know how to press in that system, so it kept leading to problems. And here, I
should have kept an eye on Iwobi to see if he was doing the like more aggressive pressing.
I think he was.
Yeah.
The few times that I've remembered to keep an eye on it, it seemed like he was. But in this game, it was much more like even more aggressive play from those two fullbacks, as we've talked about. Mm-hmm. But it still left moments when West Ham were able to break and sort of had nobody around them for like 80 yards.
Yeah.
And so it still feels like Arsenal have improved a little bit, but there's still that like, ooh, we got to fix that one next week.
The goal is a little bit like that, right? Yeah. Doesn't Felipe Anderson, I don't think he scores in the end. Is it Arnautovic scores?
Yes.
But Felipe Anderson definitely like breaks through a wave. And then there's a big gap for him to run into.
I have thumbs up to Felipe Anderson's motor, because he had at least 3 like 80-yard driving runs. I also want to say
he uses premium gas.
Yeah, he sure does. And I want to say though, it was
89. He presses 89.
He gets all fancy for whatever reason. Still don't know why we're supposed to use the fancy gas. I think it's great that he made those runs. It's a great ball that sets up Arnautovic for the goal. It might be the worst thing possible that Marko Arnautovic scored that goal, because I also want to say thumbs down to him, because it felt like
Arnautovic?
Yeah, it felt like he
Fake Ibrahimovic?
Thank you for that. I was going to mention that. It felt like he scored and sort of then adopted. Maybe he always has this personality of, like, I am the new Zlatan. Of, like, I have scored. Now everyone else must score. Every single time a West Ham player didn't score or shot when Arnautovic didn't think they should have, there was no hiding how he was angry the entire time. Yelling, screaming, sulking, pouting. It was really obvious how frustrated he was.
Yeah.
Worth noting, West Ham still haven't won a game. Bottom of the table. So maybe that's part of that frustration. But it was still, while those were good signs from West Ham, it was still some very obvious, like, ooh, that wasn't the way that was supposed to go.
Bad sign for West Ham is a thumbs up for me.
Yep.
Thumbs up to Issa Diop for helping me get a prediction point. So you may remember in our Premier League preview, I predicted that Issa Diop would have an embarrassing error early in his Premier League career. But I think I also then predicted he would eventually come good.
Yeah.
So this is a guy, I can't remember the French team he played for, but he's only 21, quite young-ish, inexperienced-ish defender who really steps to things and really goes for things. That isn't quite what happened here, but he did have a horrible, horrible own goal.
Yes, he did.
Not least because it's not just bad because it bounces off of him and goes in. It's bad because the whole disaster starts with a terrible Issa Diop clearance.
Yeah, I mean,
tries to strike it long and far, instead slices it up in the air.
But really has no excuse. Yes, it's bouncing out of bounds. It will go out for a corner if he doesn't clear it, but he is there. It's not like he runs it down and tries to make a desperation play. He is there to get the volley, and he just slices the volley. He mishits it. It's bad technique, sends it pretty much straight up in the air. Yep. And this is a good example to our earlier point about where Arsenal pressing. You look at how many bodies they had up for this one and how nobody dropped off as soon as that ball went up, as soon as that bad clearance happened. If anything, more numbers are there.
This is where Aaron Ramsey wins that header. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's good pressure there. I think Monreal is up there. He helps either win a secondary header or just get involved to settle the play and keep it going.
I think Monreal challenges for the first one, and then when the ball bounces loose, it's Ramsey wins the second one.
Gotcha.
And then the ball goes in, and Diop is defending Aubameyang and just gets in the way, and it bounces off of his thigh or hip and goes in.
Yeah. So you get the point, and that's great. But it's also, there was that, I think moments later, there was another sort of West Ham a little bit slow on the ball, good aggressive pressure from Arsenal, forces a turnover, forces a good chance for them, and it felt like, ooh, things are clicking.
Yeah.
They've moved up to 75% of the way there.
We're at 75% Emery.
Yeah.
All right, so thumbs up to Arsenal for getting to 75% Emery.
And I'll say thumbs up to Arsenal for really, I'm establishing it as the Arsenal cutback. They did it, last week and missed 4 or 5 chances? Or was that the first week? I can't remember.
No, against Chelsea.
Yeah.
Or against Man City? I can't remember.
And it's not fancy.
Against Chelsea. Chelsea.
It's not fancy. It's not like this elaborate system that leads to the cutback.
Yeah.
But they keep doing it. Bellerin for Aubameyang in the first few minutes. Aubameyang failed to connect. But then it led to the cutback for Monreal from Iwobi, which led to the first goal. And then for the third goal, it's Bellerin cutting back for Danny Welbeck at the top. So it's that same cutback to roughly the penalty spot, except this time they got 2 goals out of it.
It's working. It's working. I love seeing Danny Welbeck score as well. I'm a big for some reason, I'm just a big fan of Danny Welbeck as a person. He just seems like a good guy.
Because he's English and he's that guy?
I think it's partly that.
Yeah.
It's those two things.
Yeah.
It's those two things.
Yeah, but well done to Arsenal. It was.
Yes.
It was, I'm going to assume, a confidence-building game for Gunners fans.
That makes sense to me. All right, quick one. Thumbs up to Alexander Mitrovic's head.
Oh, yeah.
He now has.
I knew that was coming.
He's the joint top scorer in the Premier League with 3 goals. All 3 with his head.
Yep.
Right, so 2 headed goals in Fulham's 4-2 win over Burnley, plus the one last week in the defeat to Spurs where he was essentially laying flat on the floor and Sessegnon squared it to him, and he leapt up like a salmon and headed it in last week.
Yeah.
He now leads the Premier League in headed goals.
And he
has to, right?
missed his chance to get a hat-trick, which would have been with his feet.
He hit the post.
So I feel like he was... Oh, he had that one too, but then he had one where he was sprinting into the back post and just couldn't get it, and he ended up tangled in the net, kind of hanging there. But so no goals for him from his feet. Great with his head, which leads me to my Mitrovic point, which is thumbs down to Mike Ashley once again.
Oh, for selling
How do you sell him? How do you sell him for as little as you sold him with Newcastle now desperate to find a consistent goal scorer?
That's why,
guess
right?
so.
Ashley just wants that short-term money.
But it feels like such a should-work approach to things for Mike Ashley. We can sell Mitrovic. We'll get Solomon Rondon. He'll figure it out right away. They're basically the same should work. And it's just not. It's just not going to work. It may work eventually for Rondon, but it's just anytime you have to figure out a new player, whereas Mitrovic is so comfortable at Fulham and confident and fit and ready to go, that it was just a good reminder of what Mitrovic brings. And then with that in mind, I want to say thumbs up to pretty goals, because one of Mitrovic's goals was that master set-piece theater.
Yes.
Like a lofted ball to the back post that he heads in.
They took it short and then chipped it to the far post, right? They knew the strength. They knew their strength was Mitrovic's head, and they designed a play to maximise the effect of it.
Yep. So there's that one, but then there's also Jean-Michel Seri's rocket.
That was top of Reddit for a while.
It was real pretty.
Yeah.
Yep. It was top of my heart as
top
well.
Of your heart, top of Reddit.
It was well hit. It was a well hit, pretty goal.
Well done, Seri. All right, I want to say thumbs up. This is my final Premier League one.
Yep.
Thumbs up to Liverpool for scoring the most Jurgen Klopp goal.
Yep.
Right?
I mean, I don't know if it's the most. It's a hybrid, the most Jurgen Klopp and the most Liverpool goal.
Yes.
If you need an example of a Liverpool goal, there we go.
So, to talk you through it, this is a Mohamed Salah goal. It finishes 1-0 Liverpool over Brighton and Hove Albion.
Gotta get that Hove.
The ball is played short to Bissouma in central midfield. Liverpool just suddenly crowd him. I think I freeze framed it, and there's 4 Liverpool attackers surrounding Bissouma as he has the ball. It's the classic Klopp high pressing thing. James Milner, I'm calling him James, not James, because this is a very British tackle.
I see how it is.
He does the slide lunge tackle, which if he's off by an inch, it's probably a red card. But what it actually is a super clean tackle to dispossess Bissouma.
Yep. I mean, and then from there, it's the front three, right?
Yep,
Mane collects, Mane to Firmino wide to Salah with the goal. It's just
5 seconds.
Definitively textbook Liverpool.
5 seconds from lunge to back of net.
Yep.
Yeah, textbook Liverpool. Yeah,
so
1-0 Liverpool over Brighton. Liverpool, 3 games, 3 wins. They're
top of the table.
Looking like title challengers.
Top of the table. The table is so weird right now, by the way.
It is, right?
Because I'm sure we all had Watford in the top 4 after 3 games, and I certainly did not have, I believe the bottom 3 is Southampton, West Ham, and Burnley. Burnley on 1 point to start the season. Didn't see that coming.
Maybe that Europa League thing was not such a good idea.
Maybe not.
It turns out. You may have been right about that. I've got a final thing on Liverpool. I've got a weird thumbs down to the big celebration of the Alisson flick.
Okay.
Have you seen this?
No.
I can't remember who's... someone is like challenging him with the ball at his feet after it's played back to him by Van Dijk. So Alisson, the new Liverpool keeper. I can't remember who the Brighton striker is. And Alisson does like a very brave chip over the striker, then receives the ball the other side. It's really flashy. Then, if you look to his left, Andy Robertson is waving for the ball. He could spread the play, get it going. I think Alisson is so delighted by his own chip that he wants to get involved in some short passing. He plays it short. Liverpool start playing down that right side. I think they eventually lose the ball or it goes out of bounds. So he did the hard part. He did the part that made the highlight reel. He didn't do the clever thing afterwards, which would have been to spread the play out to the free Scottish player with his arms in the air.
Yeah, I mean, which you should do, because that gentleman, Mr. Robertson, was so critical to Liverpool in this game. It was another example of the importance of fullbacks, because he played excellent, as did Trent Alexander-Arnold, who I'm going to say is the British Christian Pulisic, because suddenly it's the same weekend this happened, so maybe it's just... Yeah, there's that. I forgot about that. It's the same weekend this happened, so probably like recency bias. But on the same weekend when we saw Christian Pulisic like taking set pieces for Dortmund and looking like a senior player, like where it's like you look at Trent Alexander-Arnold, who took set pieces, hit the crossbar himself, but was involved in the attacks, but now you just expect to be starting. It's a very exciting thing for a young player like him to suddenly be this kind of key figure for a team that is going to challenge for the title.
I think we're going to be seeing him for England in that sort of key role just the same.
Yes.
Right? Also, I didn't really pay attention to him properly in this game, but Joe Gomez started another game at centre-back. I think he is Virgil van Dijk's centre-back partner,
it's weird.
Through the first 3 games. He's suddenly... I'm guessing they're waiting for Lovren to come back, right?
Yeah.
But it's a good start to the season for Joe Gomez.
He should have had a goal. He had a good header, but he couldn't finish it. My final thing about the Premier League, unless you had more from this game, it's not even about the Premier League, but it's about a player who we look forward to seeing back in it. It's thumbs up to Korea for winning their Asian Games quarterfinal.
Yes.
4-3. I think Mr. Barr, Professor Barr, our friend, he tweeted us another tweet of a still image of Korea winning on a penalty. They won on a final penalty 4-3 over Uzbekistan.
Yeah.
Son isn't
Asian
looking.
Games, right?
He can't even look. He's facing away. He's not able to look because they have to win this.
Yeah.
He has to get the gold medal. Otherwise, he will have to do military service.
Yep.
So thumbs up to Korea for making the semifinal. They play Vietnam, who are no pushover. They won their group ahead of Japan, who are still in the tournament as well. Won all 3 of their games, then are now in the semifinals.
So are we expecting a Korea-Japan final?
I would, but again, I wouldn't look past Vietnam if I were Korea, because it seems like they're performing, at least in this tournament. One team that did not perform, this is the thing I really want to talk about with this tournament.
All right.
Just thumbs down to FIFA. Why are Qatar hosting the 2022 World Cup? Bottom of their group, 1 point from a group that featured Uzbekistan, Bangladesh, and Thailand. One point, 1 draw, 2 losses, -7 goal difference. Ooh. Your 2022 World Cup hosts. Ooh. Yeah, should be great. Should be great.
And that's not even the worst thing about them hosting the World Cup.
Yeah, right? Somehow it never occurred to me that the reason why Qatar wanted the expanded World Cup was to get more lower quality teams involved in the tournament. I feel like they just recognized, look, we're not going to get to that standard. We got to weaken that standard.
Can the Cook Islands qualify? Yeah. Get them in there. All right, before we move on to some Major League Soccer and some Bundesliga, today's show is sponsored by Hims. 66% of men lose their hair by age 35. But you don't have to. If you're starting to notice hair loss, it's not too late.
They err by not using today's sponsor, Hims, and thus they lose their hair. I got you, buddy.
Thank you very much.
I want to say, with the hair loss point in mind and the 66% figure, I kind of never really thought about that until I've noticed how often you see male pattern baldness or receding hairlines. Nuno, for example, the Wolves coach, he's got that magnificent beard, and it does distract from. At one point, he turned to talk to an assistant, and I was like, "Whoa, it is Baron back there."
So is he doing the Zidane monk spot?
Yes, a little bit, little bit, which apparently is far more common than maybe we initially realized.
So if you notice this happening and you would like to address it, then go to forhims.com/totalsoccer. For Hims is a one-stop shop for hair loss, skincare, and sexual wellness for men.
And I think a key thing for me is, with a lot of the issues that Hims deals with, be it hair loss, be it erectile dysfunction, it's whether or not it should be, it's an embarrassing topic. And it's a thing that people don't want to talk to their doctor about. And that's where Hims is kind of brilliant, because it connects you with real doctors and medical-grade solutions to treat hair loss or other issues you might have without having to go into the doctor and sit in the waiting room and wait on hold for 20 minutes trying to get your appointment and feeling uncomfortable and awkwardly bringing it up. They've got you covered.
So if you would like to give Hims a try, you can get a trial month of Hims for just $5 while supplies last. See the website for full details. This would cost hundreds of dollars if you went to the doctor or the pharmacy. If you go to forhims.com/totalsoccer, that's forhims.com/totalsoccer, you can get a trial month for $5. These are prescription solutions, medical grade solutions to treat hair loss.
There we are.
forhims.com/totalsoccer.
And thank you to 4Hims for sponsoring, I guess just Hims. Thank you to Hims for sponsoring today's episode of the Total Soccer Show.
I'm always confused about that. I think it's both, right? I think the company name is Hims, but the URL is 4Hims.
Yeah. Well, speaking of confusing, I've got another thumbs up, thumbs down. I'm going to say thumbs down to, this is one you weren't expecting to have happen, Piotr Zielinski. Do you remember Zielinski?
Polish attacking midfielder for Napoli.
Yes, there you go. Who we kept in every single Poland preview in the World Cup. Every time we were talking about Poland, we kept expecting, he's going to be the link to Lewandowski. He's going to be this exciting player. He's going to score goals.
The creator.
And then he never really showed up. We didn't see that. We saw it this weekend. Napoli, 3-2 win over Milan. Milan go ahead 2-0, lose 3-2. And Zielinski with a brace. Gets the brace. Where was that at the World Cup, my friend? They're both great long-range shots. They're opportunistic chances, but he takes them well. Napoli get that result. Dries Mertens coming on as a substitute to get the winner. But the other thing I wanted to say was thumbs up to pretty goals, because Milan's 2 goals, that won't be much of a consolation for them. Bonaventura with the first one. Yeah. It's like the I'm going to say semi, not full ninja kick. The one where you have to do, you don't really move, but you kind of chop the legs for some reason, but you hit that volley. He did that for the first one. For the second, it was a 27, Calabria with the second for Milan, 27 pass sequence, every single player for Milan touched the ball.
Really? Mm-hmm. Lovely.
Yes, at least once. Obviously.
Okay, I'm going to go watch highlights of that.
Yeah.
While we're on Serie A, do you want to talk about Cristiano Ronaldo?
Yes, I do. I'm desperate to talk about this.
Let's do it.
I think it was my favorite part of the weekend.
So Juventus won 2-0.
They did. Cristiano Ronaldo has not yet scored for Juventus, at least in the regular season.
But at least he has a sense of humor about it.
Oh, my goodness. He had a few chances. We saw the usual, shot from distance, just saved or just wide, and the frustrated face. Then in the 75th minute...
Oh, sorry, who was the opponent?
It was Lazio,
Yeah.
yes, who I'm more than happy to see lose on every game. That's fine. But in this game, it was Pjanic had a mistake. Then he made up for it by scoring a lovely goal, so 1-0. 2-0 courtesy of Mandzukic, but that chance is because he's volleying into a wide-open net because Cristiano Ronaldo was at the back post. It wasn't as easy as I'm going to make it sound, but it was essentially he's at the back post, he's unmarked. If he gets a good foot to it, he probably scores, except in this case, he plays it with his right foot into his left heel, and it bounces up in the air, and as he scrambles to try to get into a better position to react to that, Mandzukic is there and just volleys it into the back of the net.
Isn't it? It almost looks like an alley-oop. If Ronaldo wanted to say, that was we planned this all along. This was what we were trying.
Yep.
You could maybe persuade me. But then his look afterwards, where he's sort of laughing at himself, says that was not the plan at all.
That was the part. It's first he looks to the heavens in a sort of, you've got to be kidding me way. But then he runs over and celebrates and is laughing and smiling. And it was just it was a good moment of Cristiano Ronaldo not being furious with someone else for scoring.
Yeah.
But I did find it interesting.
Ronaldo.
Yes. Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
But I think maybe relaxed because Juventus don't relax. That was the other thing that kind of stood out to me. I like overanalyzing celebrations. Mandzukic reacts to this like he has scored a winner in the Champions League. He is so pumped and the celebration is so emphatic, while Ronaldo is sort of being I made a mistake. No one else is really laughing and pointing. Mandzukic runs off to celebrate this goal.
Yeah. And
it feels to me like that's the ruthlessness and the efficiency that Juve have utilized to win, that it's you should have scored, and that's great. That's great that you had a chance, but we scored, and I don't care. It just feels like he's kind of got everybody around him is so hyper competitive that maybe it lets him reduce a little bit. I don't know. That might just be me reading into celebrations, but either way, it was an enjoyable moment and a good win for Juve.
Should we head to the Bundesliga?
I suppose we should.
So I'm going to say thumbs a little too high for John Brooks.
Yeah, no arguments here.
Wolfsburg beat Schalke 2-1, right? Bundesliga got underway this weekend. Wolfsburg beat Schalke 2-1. John Brooks scored the opening goal for Wolfsburg. John Brooks then conceded the equaliser by trying to clear a ball, but because he's a tall man, right? He's 6'4", 6'5". Tried to volley it clear and struck Bril Embolo. It was at best reckless, right?
I had in my notes.
A penalty.
I had in my notes. Sorry, I had in my notes. He tried to clear the ball and also maybe Bril Embolo's head.
He tried to clear ball and Bril.
Yeah.
So slightly not good defending from John Brooks.
No, but I think the other reason why I am kind of emphatically agreeing with you is that I think a few times recently we've talked about the U.S. men's national team or possible future starting 11s, and we got a lot of response to us not including John Brooks as a guaranteed starter.
This is when we did how would the US national team fare if they spent a season in the Premier League?
Okay.
And the defenders we used as examples were Miazga and Cameron Carter-Vickers or Eric Palmer-Brown. We didn't include John Brooks.
We didn't. And we didn't include him not because we didn't think about him. I definitely considered him when I was answering that question. It was mostly just that I consider him to still be an unreliable defender. Majority of that is coming from his injury history, where it seems like it's very up and down. It seems like he made the move from Hertha to really move up to that next echelon. Instead, Wolfsburg continues to struggle with that.
He spent the season injured. Right?
That too, yeah.
And then the big games against Trinidad and all that, the World Cup qualifying, John Brooks was injured.
Yeah,
I'd call him unreliable for injuries more than for play.
Yeah, but you're right. That's definitely true. But there's a little bit of it for me that is also look at this game where he scores a goal and he has that great moment and he makes a smart run. He's wide up at the back post. That doesn't happen by accident. It happens by design, and he executes. But then he also kicks a player in the face and concedes a penalty.
Yeah.
And while it was maybe harsh because it was in and around the head because that's why it's dangerous play. That's why it's a penalty. And maybe that's
reckless,
a little bit harsh.
Not dangerous. Dangerous, he'd be red carded.
True. Good point. But it may be a little bit harsh because it's one of those where he doesn't see Bril Embolo coming in. He's just trying to make a play on the ball. But again, that's still reckless. It's still him not being aware of what's going on around him in a way that doesn't make me entirely comfortable to have him start for our Premier League America team.
I mean, if he's fit, for me, he starts just because he's better than everybody else. But yes, it's the same as with the DeAndre Yedlin thing, right, where we notice the mistakes. I mean, we notice the problems.
We don't know what Graham Zusi can do at center back. I don't know.
I'm sure Bruce Arena would have tried to find out. We didn't talk enough about John Brooks scoring. He opened the scoring in the 30-something minute for Wolfsburg, head out from a corner kick. We like his move, right? He sort of fakes to the near post, drifts to the far post, then buries the header at the near post.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
Yep. It's a pretty header. It's a pretty header.
Yeah.
But you, I think, in terms of Americans in this game, spent a lot more time contemplating the existence of Weston McKennie.
Yes. Okay. So to give the full background, our friend John Tolbert, who will be going to the DC United game with, he had texted before I'd watched the full game to say like he felt like McKennie was somehow not involved, like something was wrong. So I paid like really close attention to McKennie in this game. Here's what happened. He played number 6 for Schalke. Schalke had 3 central midfielders. It was Harit to the left. It was Serdar, new signing, to the right.
Daryl knew that from memory.
Serdar I couldn't remember. Harit I did remember. And then McKennie was sort of the number 6 between them and slightly deeper. So I think this was his first time as the sole defensive midfielder in a 3-5-2 type thing for Schalke, right? Normally it's been like 3-4-3 or some other combination where he's had help, right? I did not enjoy watching McKennie in that role because I just hoped for a lot more from him. I think he really struggled to... If you're that number 6, you're expected to dominate and control the game, right? And McKennie wasn't able to do that at all. And I was... I'm not like disappointed because I still think McKennie is this wonderful player, but I just really hope to see him get off to a strong start and dominate that midfield from number 6.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Here's what I can say to that. I can say, number one, I did not watch this game live. I watched the extended highlights of this game, which I do always appreciate that Bundesliga games, when they say extended, they mean extended. They're like 8 to 10 minutes long.
Yeah.
From what I saw, I felt like if you compare what McKennie was doing to go all the way back to the Wolves draw with Man City, the way Moutinho and Neves really held down that middle, kept their positioning, knew exactly where they needed to be at any given moment, always gave each other the outlet, it allowed that midfield to function. It felt to me like in a lot of the clips I saw, it was McKennie and not a lot of people around him, or he had shifted over to help try to cover somebody,
because
but then it left space.
Harit wanders off and attacks, Serdar wanders off and attacks, and McKennie's trying to cover everything else.
And that's where I think that my hesitation to go along with you in some of that is that, like, I don't know if that's his fault or if he's trying to play as a number 6, and then it's like, oh, I got to get pulled out of here, or I got to try to cover this, or I'm covering 40 yards by myself.
Yeah. I mean, it's both, right? It can be that like he didn't have a great performance and he was somewhat set up to fail by the system that Tedesco selected. But like, I think it's really worth underlining the idea of this isn't some big judgment on Weston McKennie, right? Yeah. He's 19 years old. I think he turns 20 tomorrow. It's his first Bundesliga game of the season. He's playing in a slightly new position, slightly new role. We don't need to judge him harshly for a not great performance.
No.
But it is worth pointing out as US fans that, like, at least the first game of the season, things did not go as he would have wanted.
I always forget the old saying, like my parents would always tell me, maybe they were just trying to reinforce verbal abuse, but they would always tell me, like, if your coach isn't yelling at you, it means they don't care anymore. That if they're not like trying to like, no, you gotta go wide, then they're just sort of like, whatever, this kid doesn't know, I'll coach the next kid.
Yeah.
And I always got to remember that I think Daryl has that approach with Americans he really cares about, that he really pushes them to that next level. And I got to remember that you're like, I don't know if he did this right. We gotta talk about this.
I just want the best things to happen.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, you want the best. You demand the best.
I demand the best. Yeah. So the other thing,
get it together, Weston.
2 more things for Weston.
/ all of Schalke.
2 more things for Weston McKennie.
Yeah.
One, he is slightly, but he shares the blame, slightly at fault for the Wolfsburg winner. Daniel Ginczek runs from midfield. He gets the run on Weston McKennie, but then he beats, I think it's Baba Rahman as well, before getting on the end of a through ball. McKennie had just sprinted full field, head down, to try and cover an attack. I think he was just completely gassed. But Ginczek does really get the run on him. He is partly to blame for Wolfsburg.
I think also, from my memory of this one, he also makes that run back, but then, again, has to kind of decide, do I step to the ball or do I try to kind of help out with the runner? And I think in that moment of indecision, he kind of does neither successfully.
Yep.
He ends up stepping a little bit more than tracking the runner, but
Yep.
it still leaves that space in behind.
It weirdly reminded me of Michael Bradley. You know, when sometimes Bradley was left alone in the US midfield and everybody else was gone, and he was just trying to cover too much ground. That was a little bit like what Weston McKennie was doing here.
Well, there are those rumors that he's going to move to Toronto at the end of the season.
That would be quite the DP signing for
People
Toronto.
would not be pleased. And that was a joke,
FC
everybody.
Dallas would not be
Before
pleased.
people smashed their phones. That was a joke. Or computers. I don't know whether they're listening.
One actual transfer rumour is Sebastian Rudy from Bayern Munich to Schalke.
Yep.
Rudy was, I believe, part of Germany's World Cup squad.
Yep.
Definitely was part of the Confederations Cup squad.
Yep.
That would be either very good news or very bad news for Weston McKennie, and I'm not sure. I don't know if he's replacing him or if he's going to supplement the midfield, and therefore McKennie has more chance of succeeding with a stronger midfield around him.
I'm going to say supplement because that's what I want it to be.
There we go. There we go.
Should we move to Dortmund? Does that work for you?
If you would like to, yeah.
Sure, Dortmund with the emphatic 4-1 win over RB Leipzig. We're going to talk about Christian Pulisic a lot, but first we're going to talk about Dortmund really wanted to start this season off with a little bit of adversity, didn't they?
I've got thumbs down to Borussia Dortmund's first minute of the season.
Yeah, it wasn't great.
Thumbs up to the rest of the first game.
There we go.
They beat Rasenballsport Leipzig, which is, they put the full name on the scoreboard.
That's kind of
which
them.
is kind of funny. They beat them 4-1. 4-1 win for Dortmund with Pulisic heavily involved. We'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, Leipzig...
Did you just mean to quote me? I think I literally said that.
I'm just underlining the point. I'm underlining the
I think
point.
I said Dortmund winning 4-1 with Pulisic featuring heavily. We'll talk about
I'm
that in a
making
second.
sure hey, Taylor, some people are like walking their dogs, they're distracted, maybe they're looking at something else.
God.
Just making sure people know. Leipzig go 1-0 up inside the first minute.
Yes, they do.
Inside the first minute, and Manuel Akanji broke my heart.
Like you broke my heart, Fredo sort of situation?
Yeah, kind
Did you
of.
kiss him on the cheek?
So he recovered, right? Manuel
Yeah.
Akanji is the Swiss defender that I was hyping up during the World Cup. He had a great World Cup. He joined Dortmund in January. I was ready for him to be the main man starting this season. He goes full Diop for the first minute of this game.
Oh.
Bad clearance, really bad clearance,
Yeah.
followed by a really odd attempt at a header. It ends up with, I think it's Augustin scores early on for RB Leipzig.
Yep.
And Dortmund go on to win 4-1, and we'll talk about Christian Pulisic later.
Let's talk about him now, because I want to say thumbs up to Christian Pulisic's shadow influence. That's what I'm saying.
Excuse me?
Yes. Dortmund able to pull one back. The first goal coming from Mahmoud Daoud's really great, diving away from goal, directional header.
Klinsmann-esque.
Yes, lovely header. Except if you watch it from the alternate angle, Christian Pulisic is there and shaping for the volley.
He is, isn't he?
So he's there. He's in there. Maybe he's a little bit intimidating. Maybe the Leipzig players focus on him, not Daoud. For the second goal, Pulisic dummies the free kick. I think that was clearly the thing that threw off the entire defense and allowed the goal to happen.
He also wins the free kick. One of the big stories, I think, of this game is Christian Pulisic started on the right side of a 4-3-3, got fouled hard and repeatedly by IB Leipzig. There was definitely a feeling of, we're scared of this guy running at us, we're just going to foul him. He got fouled repeatedly. He won this free kick that this goal came from.
So you made my joke about Christian Pulisic into making me actually be like, wait, maybe he was really important in this game.
He was.
There we go. Okay.
He was.
Yeah, and then especially so because he takes the corner that Thomas Delaney is able to win with a great header, a great save, but it leads to the Witsel bike for the third goal.
Yeah, so, Pulisic has essentially two secondary
He
assists.
basically scored a hat-trick. There we go. That's what I'm saying.
Did you? So I don't know what you said. You watched extended highlights.
Yep.
Did the Pulisic fouls make the highlight reel?
No.
I'm guessing not, right? Because it was play dies and that sort of stuff.
Yep.
There really was. He would receive the ball on the right or the left, and a defender would just step into him hard. It reminded me. The reason I liked it weirdly is when Pulisic played for the US, and I can't remember if it was Honduras or Panama or possibly both, would just foul him every time. Because it was better to foul him at midfield than let him run at you. That made sense in CONCACAF, right? Because he's one of the elevated players in CONCACAF. It's interesting to me that is now happening in the Bundesliga. That he is seen as such a threat that we've got to take him down here.
I think a big part of it is how... sometimes direct can be a bad word in soccer. I think Pulisic is direct in a good way, where he's not, I would say, ponderous on the ball. He's going to get that ball and he's going to go and he's going to try to cross it or he's going to try to drive it across the face of goal. And I think if you're a defender, you want to concede that free kick 50 yards from goal as opposed to maybe having to get a yellow or a red to try to stop him hurtling down the field.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. It's just occurred to me that also this is how Leipzig play, is that they
that
do
too.
press and foul.
Yeah, there's a little bit of that.
So there's that. Oh, you and I watched the free kick we talked about. Is it the equalising goal? It's an own goal.
That's the go-ahead goal.
The go-ahead goal that we talked about. I said Pulisic wins the free kick. There are going to be people who accuse Pulisic of diving.
Yep.
We both watched this closely. It's not a dive, is it?
No, it's not. It's a thing you have to remind people of when they make fun of soccer players for diving, that if you are running at full speed and you get a tight, even a tiny little knock, and that's what happens here. It's like the tackle hits his trailing leg, but if you're running at full speed and you're the foot that's up in the air suddenly is knocked out of position, it's going to hit your other foot, you're going to fall over, and it's a foul.
That's exactly what happened, right? But it looks like he trips himself and wins the free kick.
Yeah, it does.
But it's that he gets tripped and then trips over himself because he got tripped.
Yep.
Yeah?
There we go. Well said. I don't have anything else from the Bundesliga. I do have something from Europe as well.
I've got one more thing from this game. So Borussia Dortmund, new coach, Lucien Favre, new signing, Axel Witsel. I think Witsel is the player they've always needed.
Really?
So we talked earlier about how I was concerned that Weston McKennie wasn't sort of influential or dominant or aggressive enough in that number 6 role for Schalke. Axel Witsel is, I think, the player I want Weston McKennie to be. Axel Witsel, whereas before it was Julian Weigl or Rafael Guerrero or someone just spraying passes around for Dortmund, Axel Witsel did that, but really was willing to knock some guys over, was willing to rough it up, and was willing to sort of tell people where to pass the ball. He absolutely dominated central midfield. Axel Witzel's going to make Dortmund a force.
All right. I will also add, he also joins the Luis Robles 11 of people that look like they're from the future.
Yes. Maybe he is.
Axel Witsel 100% looks like he's from the future.
He does. Plays like it as well.
There you go.
He actually had a weird career. So he was on the up, and he looked like someone who's going to be playing in Bundesliga or wherever. Goes to Russia, plays for St. Petersburg, then in St. Petersburg for a long time, then goes to China. So weirdly,
what's the consistent thread there?
Money, right?
Yeah.
But, so he's only 29. This debut in the Bundesliga is the first time he's played in a genuinely top-tier European league.
Well, welcome to the big show, kid.
Exactly.
And kid who's only, I guess he's younger than me, so it counts.
Yeah, but he excelled. That's the very interesting part to me.
I would expect nothing less.
All right, sorry, I interrupted you.
No, it's all good. I was staying in Europe. Do you want to go to Spain?
Yeah, let's do that.
Sure.
Let's do that, where Gareth Bale scored a wonderful goal from a wonderful Isco through ball, definitely worth seeing if you can find the highlight, that starts with a Keylor Navas rollout.
It does. And
not rollout, sorry, chuck out.
It's a good throw.
Halfway.
It's a good throw, not like
half-court shot.
Well, it's that's the thing is it's not the Jordan Pickford 60 yards springs this counterattack. It's more the familiarity and the confidence that Navas has in his players or with his players, that it's a 40-yard throw, but it's into the middle of the field, and it's, I believe, to Asensio. It might be to Isco, I forget. But either way, it's just dropped in between two defenders on either side.
Yeah, I think it's Isco.
And it's and he's able to turn and play, but it's Navas' ability to put that ball inch perfect so that there doesn't have to be a second touch or a third touch that doesn't need to happen, but it's also his comfort to know, he's going to settle that and be able to play. I can definitely play it there, as opposed to, it's in the middle, I'll boot it long.
No, this is why Navas is part of that Real Madrid team that's won 3 Champions Leagues in a row.
Yeah.
Right?
And all that is to set up...
On the bench, Thibaut Courtois.
Yeah, looking not happy. All that is to set up that this team, I think, is Florentino Perez's worst nightmare.
Why?
Because they went down. They ended up winning 4-1, I believe. And it's a good fight back, 2 good penalties. I'm sure we'll talk about one in a sec.
So about Girona, by the way.
Thank you. But in terms of it's a weird thing to say about a team that has Gareth Bale and Karim Benzema and Luka Modric and Toni Kroos and all these other huge name players that I guarantee you Florentino Perez watched them and was like, but who cares? We must go sign someone. They win 4-1, but they do it with a team that doesn't have Ronaldo. It doesn't have that massive name that I think Florentino Perez wants, and I have a feeling that he didn't love that it was them doing this with Keylor Navas in goal.
I didn't see it, but I read somewhere that Sergio Ramos and Dani Carvajal celebrated with Keylor Navas after that Bale goal that started with the Navas throw.
Yeah. Which is telling because, again, it wasn't the Pickford long throw. Basically, he would have gotten an assist if Theo Walcott scores that goal. No, it was ball to Isco. Isco plays to somebody else, I believe it is, who then plays in Gareth Bale. Maybe it's Isco who plays in Gareth Bale.
I think it's just Isco straight through.
All right.
Yeah.
But either way, it's that Isco ball is amazing. It splits defenders. It's perfectly weighted, so it's in the path of Gareth Bale, but puts him at an angle where he's likely to score. And that would be the pass that usually you'd see a bunch of people celebrate with Gareth Bale, a few with Isco. That too went and celebrated with Keylor Navas, allegedly, is rather telling.
Also from this game, we got to give a thumbs up to the bravery of Sergio Ramos, taking that penalty kick to equalise, I think. It's
I like that you're phrasing this as though he was forced to do it and not he absolutely demanded to take that penalty.
Well, he did, but like in Ronaldo's absence, it's kind of important, right? Who takes the penalty kicks. He stutter steps on the way up and then Panenka's. This has got double embarrassment if it all goes wrong.
Yeah.
But it all goes right because it's Sergio Ramos.
I have a technical question for you.
All right.
It seems I'm with you that it should be a Panenka, except he still kind of hits it. Like it's got velocity behind it. Not a lot.
It's more like a strike at the top
corner?
I
don't know because you're right that it's a weirdly like driven chip. Like I don't know how to phrase that, but you told me about it. I went and watched it, and I was left thinking like, does that count as a Panenka? Because he doesn't do the aggressive run up followed by the disguised chip. It's like he does a disguised run up followed by a disguised chip. It was confusing to me.
Maybe he invented a new thing.
Should we call it the Ramos?
The Ramos.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's not quite a Panenka, but it's not quite a penalty.
Yeah.
But it goes in the net, and it's done by a guy who's very tattooed and is controversial.
There we go.
Ramos.
The Ramos. Anything else from Spain? I know Dembele scored for Barcelona.
I'm sure Graham Hunter was thrilled.
I'm sure he was, yes. If you haven't heard Taylor's interview with Graham Hunter, please go back and listen to it.
I do not have anything else from Spain, although congratulations to Atletico Madrid, who also got a 1-0 win. But I'm going to move us to Turkey.
All right.
And I'm just going to say,
I didn't know we were going here.
Thumbs up to Beşiktaş for becoming, I'm assuming, Daryl's favorite second or third team.
Why is that?
Here's why. Their starting center backs for this game were, can you guess one of them?
Pepe?
Yeah, and Vida. Yeah, there you go.
Wow, that's a combo.
Do you know who started as the holding midfielder ahead of them?
Michael Pazner?
Gary Medel.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know who started out wide in the attack?
Ricky Q.
Ricardo Quaresma. Kyle Larin came in and got 33 minutes at the end of the game.
He's almost American.
And as of this weekend, they signed Loris Karius, who I know you don't have much love for, but I want to see him succeed. And this is with a team that is likely to make the Champions League or at least Europa League. So they just got, and that's not to name any of the other many players that Beşiktaş have. They're just a fun collection of names that you're like, whoa. And it was great, even though they lost.
That's my Turkish team now.
Yes. And they should be. And they should be.
I want to talk Major League Soccer.
Let's do it.
Josef Martinez has done it. Martinez now has 28 goals, and he got the record-breaking goal to be the all-time regular season scoring record leader against Orlando City.
Yeah.
The winning goal against Orlando City, 2-1 to Atlanta. I feel
so bad for Orlando.
You couldn't have a more special rivalry-esque way to do it.
Do they not like each other?
Martinez did it.
I don't know. The Atlanta show didn't tell me anything.
There was a lot of anti-Orlando sentiment in that room, right?
It was a good reminder that if you aren't sure if you're winning the crowd over, just get them to say mean things about their opponent or their main rival, and it works quite well.
The tough thing is this game could have ended as a 1-1 draw with a great goal from Sutter as the Orlando equaliser. Yep. That would have been the story. Mm-hmm. But then Josef Martinez
said, I'm Josef Martinez?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I don't know what to say about this goal. There's 2 or 3 interesting things.
I was going to say, you had the idea that this is maybe a hallmark of Josef Martinez?
Yes.
Or just a thing that he does very well?
Yeah, so outside of everything else happening, in the end, it's Martinez on the ball, shaping to shoot with his left, and everybody buying it. Right, everybody buys it. Spector goes down. Jonathan Spector believes it. Goalkeeper Bednick goes down, thinks he's making a save. And Martinez shooting with his left, but then Martinez cuts inside with that same left foot, uses it to cut instead of shoot, and then chips it over everybody into the goal. And I think that is the Martinez move.
And the key thing about it being what makes it, because anybody can cut and then shoot. What makes it definitively Martinez in my mind is that the cut is part of the shot almost, because it's so clearly a thing that he's setting up to do right away. So he always cuts perfectly onto the shooting foot in a way that he can cut and shoot.
Yeah.
And so it's never that cut and then look up and then see where he is and then get the shot. He knows exactly where he is. He knows exactly where he's aiming.
It's 2 touches in one move.
Exactly. And it doesn't give the defense any time to react. Mm-hmm. And if anything, it gives them time to overreact because they think, he's going to take a touch and then see, so we'll try to cover some space or get back into position, and then the shot's already gone.
I think the key to all of it is that, again, Spector and Bendick both think he's shooting. Yep. There's something about the way he cuts that maybe it's the way his hips are shaped, but something about it very much sells the idea. I am shooting with my left. Yeah. Definitely, you guys should do everything you can to try and block it.
I mean, there's also an element, I think, of reputation. And if you have scored as many goals as he has, there comes a time when defenders, as soon as you get the ball, think, oh no, he's got the ball. And you maybe you lose a little bit of your cool, and it's a little bit more, oh no, he might shoot, I got to do something. And then you're not playing your game, you're playing his game.
That's a good point. The other stuff I wanted to layer on top of this is, great as it is as a moment, it also has all the hallmarks of Atlanta goals. It has a counter-attack, right? I think it's Muller loses the ball and Gressel plays a 1-2. Julian Gressel's away. He's the one that feeds the ball to Josef Martinez eventually. And it has a Miguel Almiron run across the top of the box that takes at least 2 defenders out of the way, clearing the space for Martinez to go down that left channel and then fake his way inside.
Okay.
So it had all the Atlanta United things, all the hallmarks of Atlanta United goals. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I was just trying to think of what else could be added in there. Like if Jay Riddle were in the background of the shot waving a flag, then we're good. I'm sure he was.
He probably is. No, this was at Orlando, wasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, still, I would be surprised if he was traveling. I mean, it's not that far, he says, without knowing at all the geography of the two. It's probably a couple hundred miles, whatever.
It's in MLS rivalry geography territory.
It's in the territory of, in England, it would be like, can you believe they drove this far for a game? And here it's like, can you believe how close this one was?
Our local rivals.
Things I can't believe, by the way, sticking with Major League Soccer for a moment. My neighbor was out in L.A. He went to an LAFC game, the one that they lost to. No, he lost to Sporting KC.
Okay.
And I got to say, I think I'm going to have to watch some Sporting KC because there was one player he said that he kept focusing on and was really surprised by how involved in the attack he was and how much he led attacks and kind of helped plan them out and seemed to be the senior figure. It's Graham Zusi. Graham Zusi was the one who was like,
right back?
Yeah. He was like, I went to this game not liking Graham Zusi, and I left it thinking, like, okay, I see why people like him, and he kept getting called up.
Yeah.
I was sort of on the Graham Zusi out train, so I feel like I owe it to him and to Sporting KC fans.
You mean for a potential U.S. national team call-up?
No, just more so I think I kind of tended to because of what happened. For some reason, there's a few players that for me became the subject of my ire. I know for a lot of people it was Josie Altidore and Michael Bradley. For me, Graham Zusi was one of them, and I'm not sure why that was the case, and I don't know if that was fair. So I'm going to try to watch at least one more Sporting KC game in the next couple weeks to just see how involved he is and maybe if I have underestimated him.
So you're Zusi curious?
I am indeed. I'm also curious to see how Seattle have done what they've done. 7 games in a row with wins, the longest streak since shootouts.
The most recent against Portland, right?
Yeah, we don't have to go into that one because Portland fans will be sad, other than to say that Portland lost 1-0 at home, which isn't a thing that they do very often, at least to Seattle. So to see Seattle resurgent is maybe a good reminder of what Toronto could be if they figure things out, but I'm hoping they don't because I want DC to make the playoffs.
All right, fandom is getting into gear, right?
100%.
All right, yeah, we're gonna see DC versus.
Well, it's also because, not to keep it going, but like it's also because I can't believe how wrong I was about Wayne Rooney. I'm going to knock on wood there. Like I was down on that signing, and it seems to have been the signing that has rejuvenated that team and given them life and made it a little bit more fun to play for DC United.
I think it was just that Rooney was so unglamorous. But then the thing in hindsight is that he's so obviously a much better player.
Also, so obviously loves Chinese food that it made me concerned.
I don't know.
That's not a joke. He really did. Like after, I remember a Man United interview where they asked all these players, like, "What's your favorite thing to eat after the match?" And like Ronaldo was still there, and so Ronaldo's was, of course, like, "Well, you know, I speak with my nutritionist, and he advises me of what's the best thing." And like Raphael was there, and I think he was like, "Oh, I always eat fruit because I find it's very light." And Rooney was like, "I always have Chinese food." It's like that's not the same thing. Those are not the same thing.
Extra rice.
Yeah.
He's so much better than Mattox or Mullins and the strikers that were there that it was just always going to be an obvious upgrade, but only in hindsight. Really. Yeah. Okay. Are you ready for the Total Soccer Show Scouting Network?
Now, I've got to ramble on about Major League Soccer for another couple minutes. Yes, let's get to the Scouting Network, and let's start with Todd Brannan, scouting Cameron Carter-Vickers, the 20-year-old American defender on loan from Tottenham at Swansea.
Yay!
Despite rumblings of a hamstring injury, CCV has been loaned to Swansea City for the remainder of the season.
All right, so we talked about this off air, and you said to me, I think this might be his forever team.
I do. Because I don't know why, but I like the idea of him having a forever home. I like it being in Wales. I think it's just because with players that tend to go out on loan as regularly as he has, admittedly only 20, so there's lots of time, it just feels like you reach that point where it starts to feel like, oh, every season is that season. Oh, next year he's going to be back. He's going to get consideration. And there comes a time with that type of player when it's like, oh, he'll be back. He'll be like, oh, no, the option to buy, huh? Oh, that loan's permanent now? Okay, then. And it just seems like Swansea are a team that I would expect to try to get back to the Premier League aggressively. It feels like they're trying to make some sneaky signings to make that happen. And he feels like he could be one if they have a strong season, if they challenge for or even get back to the Premier League. I feel like that's a player that they might put in an offer for to try to lure permanently to Wales.
All right, we can stay updated on everything CCV with the Total Soccer Show Scouting Network. Up next, Michael Curry is scouting Haji Wright, the 20-year-old American attacker for Schalke. Michael says, on August 11th, Haji got his first start with FC Schalke 2, and after just 4 minutes scored his first goal of the season in a 4-1 win over SC Westphalia Herne. However, it appears he was subbed out of the match at the 17-minute mark due to injury, which kept him from being named to the bench for their second game of the season.
Haji Wright is just one long, that's good, that's bad. Always. Brian Watley scouting Sergio Diaz, the 20-year-old Paraguayan forward on loan at Corinthians from Corinthians? I always get that one wrong.
I think the Brazilian pronunciation, I'm really risking it by saying that, is Corinthian.
That was perfect.
Yeah,
I liked it. I have no idea if it was perfect, but I think it was. On loan from Real Madrid Castilla. Diaz is in the final process of recovering from a cruciate injury suffered last November. In the meantime, he has been sent out on loan to Corinthians until December 2019. Corinthians has the option to buy, and it seems the right of first refusal.
Ed Ritter is scouting Ben Mines, the 18-year-old American attacker for the Red Bulls. Ed says Ben Mines has been struggling to get minutes for New York, usually appearing as a late-game sub. He subbed on against North Carolina in the 65th, only to be sent off in the 70th for a completely undeserved straight red for toothlessly retaliating after being stepped on by one of the opposing centre-backs. I'm assuming this New York is New York Red Bulls too.
You are correct.
Unless North Carolina got that MLS franchise without me knowing about it.
That would be a surprise.
Yeah.
That would be a surprise. Jonathan Failer scouting Tommy Redding, 21-year-old American defender from the New York Red Bulls. I think I said FWM there. That's a good word. After only one appearance for the Red Bulls senior team, a loss to former team Orlando City, and 2 appearances for Red Bulls 2, Redding is out for the remainder of the season after undergoing shoulder surgery.
The Bad News Express, today's scouting network. Does it get better?
But not for long.
Jeff and Sam Huffman are scouting Mukwele Akele, the 21-year-old American attacker for Villarreal B. That seems further up the alphabet.
Last they reported he had been promoted to the B team.
All right. Jeff and Sam Huffman say Mukwele Akele has had an outstanding pre-season for Villarreal B. He led the team in scoring with 4 goals in pre-season, and he seems poised to have a starting spot as the team begin their regular slate of games. Keep moving up the alphabet, Mukwele.
We agree. Colin Bish scouting Eric with a Y Williamson, 21-year-old American wide forward for T2, Portland Timbers 2. For now, we think. Rumors persist that Williamson will be heading to CD Santa Clara, something like that, in the Portuguese Primeira. The team is newly promoted and appears intent on investing in young talent.
Isn't that where Keira Knightley went?
Yes. Wait, have you still not listened to Top Drawer Soccer from last week?
The college one?
Yeah.
No,
I literally make that reference in that show. Yes. I 100% do. That's amazing. Yeah, Travis had no idea what I was talking about. He mentioned like Santa Clara as being a good program for the women's team, and I was like, yeah, I know. That's where I couldn't remember Keira Knightley's character, so I was going to say that's where Jess Bamra and Keira Knightley's character went. And then he was completely silent, I think.
Santa Clara. Uh-huh. So I do know...
You remember it from her terrible pronunciation, don't you? There we go.
Well, it's because I used to say that too.
There you go.
I do know from my own research that CD Santa Clara is in a beautiful part of Portugal called the Azores. Uh-huh. It's almost... if you Google images of it, it looks basically like Hawaii. This is a beautiful, beautiful place. So Eric Williamson is... in terms of scenery, definitely moving up in the world. All respect to Alexandria, where he's from. All respect to Portland. It's a lovely city. I've been to Portland. I like it. The Azores, much, much nicer.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think maybe if he's asking around, it's like Portland with fall and then winter coming versus like what looks to be a tropical paradise. It's like, I'll go play there. I
was heavily considering moving to Portland in 2008. Oh, yeah? Did I tell you this? For the offside stuff. And I was told that it only actually rains once a year in Portland, but it's from October to March.
There we go. Yep.
Todd Ito is scouting Takefusa Kubo, the 17-year-old Japanese attacker for Yokohama F. Marinos. Todd says Kubo made his debut for Marinos, starting in their 3-2 loss to Vegalta Sendai in the Emperor's Cup. He also got his first assist, serving in a sublime one-time chip to set up their goal. Todd thinks Kubo plays more like David Silva, despite often drawing comparisons to Leo Messi.
I don't know what to make of that, other than to say when we see Takefusa Kubo, eventually... we'll decide for ourselves.
I think what happened is Kubo came up through Barcelona and probably was called the Japanese Messi, right? Because everyone was just like, the country you're from, Messi, if you're a talented young attacker.
He was playing at Lee Missia, right?
You deliberately mispronounced it? Yeah.
I feel like that's the one that really you always get right, and you're always very focused on making sure you say it right. So anyway, it's Les Miserables.
Les Miserables.
Yeah, there you go.
Also, we've definitely given people enough time to tweet at us. Actually, David Silver is part Japanese.
Yeah.
Just want to let you know that you wasted a tweet because we already knew.
And so did Todd. Todd included that in his report.
Did he? Oh, yeah, of course, Todd. Well done.
Ben Radu scouting Enes Unal, the 21-year-old Turkish striker for Villarreal. Things aren't looking good for Enes, as Villarreal have signed 3 forwards. Gerard Moreno from Espanyol, Carl Toko Akambe from SCO Angers, and Carlos Bacca from Milan after his loan with Villarreal last season. Enes did not make the bench for the opening loss to Ben's mystery kit team, Real Sociedad.
He did. I think he played this weekend. In my head, they maybe played Barcelona, and Enes Unal played.
There we go.
But they lost.
Yeah.
The Reverend Joel Tolbert is scouting Chris Goslin, 18-year-old American midfielder for Atlanta United. The Reverend says Chris has 0 minutes this year for Atlanta United, but has 15 appearances, 11 starts for ATL United 2. His stats are good but not great, and he wasn't invited to participate in the homegrown game this year. More worryingly, the Atlanta Journal-Constitution is reporting an injury that the team has yet to diagnose.
They should probably get on that. Mark Ryan scouting Giovanni Simeone, 23-year-old Argentine forward for Fiorentina. Coming off a strong season for Fiorentina, 14 goals in 38 games, Giovanni has earned his first call-up to the senior national team for upcoming friendlies versus Guatemala and Colombia, on a squad notably missing many of Argentina's most well-known players.
Interesting. I assume no Leo Messi there.
Correct.
Have you seen the Gio Simeone video from this weekend?
I wanted to mention it, except yes, but no, because I've seen the headline of like touching moment, great moment, but no, I haven't seen it.
So it's basically, I can't remember who Fiorentina played, but they won like 6-1, and Gio Simeone scored in the 93rd minute. Mark, don't let this discourage you from sending in a scouting report about this, because I'd be interested to see more of it. It was basically just that his dad, Diego Simeone, and I believe Gio's wife and kid, maybe, I think, or maybe his mom, I can't tell, it was a grainy video, are up in the stand, and so one of the Fiorentina staff just points out to him that the family's there, and they all start waving to each other for an extended period. It's a really, really nice moment.
I like it. I like it a lot.
Andrew Elgerton is scouting Ali McBurney, the 22-year-old Scottish number 9 for Swansea. Oh, he's going to be a CCV teammate. Andrew says that Ali McBurney netted a brace in Swansea's 2-2 draw with Leeds last week. One goal, as Andrew puts it, was one of those great long-distance looping headers to the back post.
I know what you mean, Andrew.
Coach Graham Potter can't stop talking about how he loves Ali's work ethic and how he plays the game, including praising him for all the work he does off the ball.
That's always good.
Always good to have a coach that recognises what you do.
Indeed, indeed, indeed.
Why is that funny?
I don't know who that was a shot at or if that was a genuine comment.
It wasn't a shot at anyone.
But I like the idea of you sitting down for like your expert opinion on coaching. You're like, well, you want your coach to always recognize the things that you do.
Maybe I'm sending you a message about our upcoming amateur season.
All right.
Coach
Scream a lot?
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you to everybody who sent us
Take
scouting.
the Diego Simeone approach?
Sent us scouting, away from the stands.
Yeah.
Sent us scouting reports.
In my black rage box.
Appreciate it. If anyone is waiting for their scout, I've got lots of emails. People have requested their scout. I promise I am on it this week. I will get scouts assigned. There are just many, many people signing up for the Total Soccer Show Scouting Network. It's good news for us. It's also a lot of work.
It is. It is very good, very much good news for us, and we very much appreciate everyone who chooses to support the show and sends in those scouting reports because it keeps us up to date on the players that we're excited to see in future tournaments. But I also need your help, Daryl. What did we call the Diego Simeone punishment box? Was it the ISO cube? What did we call that thing?
Was it like a glass case of emotion?
It was something like that, but it was like an all-black room where he was just by himself in the stadium once.
Oh, that's
it was amazing.
That was
yes, yeah.
Black Rage Box. I don't know.
I think it was ISO cube, but I could be wrong. Either way, it was just terrifying.
Diego Alone? No?
There we go.
It should be that.
We haven't seen each other in so long that I've embraced your puns briefly.
There we go.
That will all change by tomorrow.
You missed them more than you realise.
No.
On that note,
no, I did not.
Taylor Rockwell, thank you for taking the time to talk to me today.
Right back at you, buddy.
Listeners, we are going to brave it and we're going to watch Man United v Tottenham. We're going to see if Jose Mourinho ruins that game for us or not. If he doesn't, we'll have a quick hot take for that game. Hopefully we'll talk to you again soon.